fossilized remains of an amphibious, four-legged whale. The bones were found in rock formations that are 43 million years old.
That's the new prediction by an American bioscience company attempting to resurrect the long-extinct marsupial.
From shiny fossils that brought the scientific community a bit closer to the de-extinction process to the strangest animals that were once part of the wildlife.
1,000 pounds more than the average T-Rex. It will soon go on display at the Royal Saskatchewan Museum in Canada.
This video is going to leave you with more questions than answers. Are you ready? Let's get started. Number 1. Sabertoothed cat. Teeth the size of a human hand. Long, razor sharp, and pointy. That's how the saber-toothed cat is known. Recently, scientists found a fossilized skull of the saber-toothed cat, and they are claiming that it is the biggest ever skull found.
This far, and it's really far, and it needs to be able to do that in order to get anything in its mouth. If you do anything less, it's not going to get anything past those massive sabers.
If you look past the sharp teeth, the skull weighs nearly 900 pounds alone. According to a rough estimate, the skull is nearly 9 million years old, but scientists are sure that it is from the Ice Age. Now, we have all seen this predator in cartoon. Would you want to see it in real life? Number 2. The two cave lion. Can you imagine a cave lion sprinting back into the wild? Researchers found two nearly perfectly preserved lion cubs in Siberia, but one of them stood out from the other. Its whiskers were still intact. Scientists even plucked out a few hairs from the cub that is nearly 28,000 years old. The other cub was much older, about 43,000 years old.
That a lion fought a bear in this very cave. The lion's bones were found close to a bear's nest, and there are some intriguing marks.
Cave lions are larger than African lions and can live in colder climates. But as far as science can tell, they have been around early humans for thousands of years.
Like and subscribe right now, and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. Can they live around modern humans? I mean, scientists already have the cub's hair. You never know what they could be planning. What do you think they would do with it? Number 3. The baby woolly mammoth. Forget lion. Have you seen a giant woolly mammoth up close? Who knows? Maybe you can now, because scientists definitely want to see that dream come true. There have been a bunch of fossils of a woolly mammoth, but this 30,000 years old fossil managed to baffle the scientific community. It was the fossil of a small baby that looked as if it died an hour ago. The discovery was remarkable because this was the first complete baby woolly mammoth that the world got to have. But here's the fascinating part.
Bioethicists and conservationists around the world to ensure that it goes as right as possible, but there will always be some risk in any large moonshot for.
A lot of scientists have claimed that they would bring the woolly mammoth back to the wild. That may or may not be possible. But scientists did do something close to that. They made a giant meatball of woolly mammoth meat and have put it up for display. Yes, thousands of years old meat. Even scientists who designed it haven't eaten it because of the fear of allergen. What do you think it tastes like? Number 4. Tasmanian Tiger's sneaky entry. You've probably heard about this sneaky animal. Well, you might see it in the wild now. This is the colored footage of the Tasmanian tiger that went extinct by the year 1936. But the massive breakthrough was only done a few months ago. Scientists had the century-old preserved animal on their hand.
But very much like Jurassic Park, we are taking ancient DNA and assembling it into its closest living relatives and actually using genetic engineering.
They might have been playing with it for years. But only recently, scientists managed to extract the complete genome from the specimen. According to the scientists, there are only 45 gaps remaining in the 3 billion base pairs that make up the DNA. It is the first time they have managed to fish out an almost complete genome of the animal. So the level of excitement at the lab for the de-extinction process is high right. Would you join in with them? Number 5. Dodo's Revival. Do you know of the bizarre dodo bird? Well, you might get to hear a lot about the animal in the upcoming days. The bird that went extinct in the 17th century has fascinated scientists for a long time. Apparently, Dodo's big beak can help with dispersing seeds like it has in the past. So, scientists want to send the same bird to the same place where it went extinct.
They'd used what little evidence they'd been able to gather and study, and drew from the various Dutch accounts from centuries earlier.
They were so intrigued by the bird that they put it on the list of animals ready for de-extinction. They have managed to get the genome of the bird from the specimen kept at a museum. Now, they want to turn the genome into a loving and breathing animal. Do you think they will be able to make it into a reality? Number 6. The Wild Bison. You've seen the modern bison, but What about the ancient one? Would you like to see it back in the wild? Scientists unearthed an 8,000-year-old bison from Siberia. The specimen is fully intact and stunningly great in shape. The animal was sent to the lab and scientists couldn't believe it. The tissues that they recovered from the specimen were so well preserved that they thought the animal was cloned. Scientists have taken out a good chunk of the animal, and all the parts seem to be nearly perfectly preserved. They believe that they have a good chance of cloning the animal using its DNA. What do you think? Number 7. The brown bear. A brown bear that's nearly 3,500 years old was discovered by scientists. Do you think there is a chance of bringing it back to the wild? The brown bear specimen is so stunningly intact that you can even see the toenails on its paw. But that was not the only surprise waiting for the scientists. There was one more that took the entire room by surprise. Forget about the parts of the body. The bear still had traces of the final meal it ate in its stomach. Yes, the food it ate thousands of years ago was still in the bear's body,
which has given us the opportunity to study the internal organs and examine the brain.
The idea behind the dissection of the specimen is to get as much as the scientists can out of the animal. You never know, something might help them get a near-complete genome. Do you think the scientists are on the right track? Number 8. The Lena horse fossil. You've probably never heard about a Lena horse. It is one of the species of horse that went extinct thousands of years ago. But recently, scientists found a fossil of the animal that forced them to look at it in a new way, from the perspective of de-extinction. The 42,000-year-old fossil of a Lena horse foal had a lot in store for the scientists. The fossil was so well preserved that it still had liquid blood in its vein. That was like hitting the jackpot. Even the fool's bladder had traces of liquid urine in there, which was quite a surprise for scientists. Yet the team couldn't find a good sample of DNA from the body. They tried for 2 months, but their efforts went down the drain. Do you think they will crack the code? Number 9. The woolly rhino. Forget the woolly mammoth. Did you know there is a woolly rhino too? Scientists found a 32,000-year-old specimen of the animal underground. But this one was unlike any other specimen scientists have found of the animal because it was half-eaten. The mummy was a mangler carcass whose left side was completely torn. Its intestines were pulled out, and there was little to nothing to extract from the specimen. Just like this fossil, there were a lot of others of a woolly rhino that were incomplete. That, and many other reasons, have made it hard to turn back the extinction process on this animal. Scientists do not have a lot of hope right now, but who knows? They might find a good fossil with complete DNA in the future. Number 10. The ancient wolf. Dire wolves have been the topic of fascination for a while now, but these real-life dogs that went extinct decades ago left behind a long tail. The DNA taken from the ancient wolf specimen shows an interesting family tree. Apparently, the dire wolves are close relatives of the gray wolves, but their lineage can be traced back to a 6-million-year-old that remains in the dark for now.
Scientists determined she was just 7 weeks old when she died 57,000 years ago, and genetic testing reveals she isn't related to contemporary North American wolves.
It is still unclear why the dire wolves went extinct and the gray wolves live to this day, thousands of years later. Yes, but scientists have a lot of theories to explain that mystery. They think the prey of dire wolf went scarce, forcing the population to die out in the wild too. Do you agree? Number 11. The sea dragon. Can you imagine a 33-feet-long monster roaming in the oceans today? While it is in the stories today, it was a reality of yesterday. Although the whale is much bigger than this supposed sea dragon, the specimen left the crowd shocked because that's an ocean reptile from the era of dinosaurs. But the specimen itself was quite extraordinary. It was an intact fossil that has been hiding for 180 million years.
Not only is this the most complete ichthyosaur skeleton ever found, the biggest one,
it is the United Kingdom's largest and the most complete fossil that they have found to date. But the bones are simply too fragile. They would crumble as soon as someone picked them up. So it might be hard to get a DNA sample out of the fossil, but that doesn't mean scientists won't play around with it as well. Number 12. The prehistoric turtle. What do you think is the biggest turtle fossil ever found? Make a guess. This turtle stood at a staggering length of 15 feet. If you want a bit of context, the largest turtle alive today does not go beyond 6 feet. This one was the size of a small car.
Altogether, this animal measured more than 12 feet long and just under 4,000 pounds.
Researchers believe that the giant turtle lived side by side with the alligators of that era, feasting on a massive diet to fill its stomach. The turtle is nearly 7 to 13 million years old. Scientists haven't looked at cloning it yet, since they believe large animals were a trend of the past. Well, you wouldn't want a turtle thrice your size roaming around, would you? Number 13. Bird fossils of China. There are not many bird fossils around because the skeletons are too brittle to survive, but a recent discovery in China broke the records. In this part of the country, the environment is perfect for the preservation of bird fossils. So, when archaeologists dug up the soil, they found some astonishing finds. Fossils of feathered dinosaurs from 130 million years ago with fine details were unearthed, perfectly preserved in stone. Scientists were baffled at the impressive details of the fossil. From dinosaurs that had wings but couldn't fly to creatures that could fly but showed traits of a dinosaur, the collection was both stunning and extensive. Researchers believe that the traits of a modern bird evolved slowly and even multiple times. Although these traits were visible for a long time,
there's a common perception that evolution proceeds in a very linear fashion. So you have a little dinosaur.
It wasn't until a million years passed that we got a creature that we could call the modern bird. But there's still one question that scientists haven't been able to answer, which is the first bird. The Archaeopteryx is the one bird that gets a lot of attention for being the alleged first bird, but there is no concrete proof to confirm the theory. The problem is that this bird is as confusing as it can get. It has long fingers and claws like that of a dinosaur, but the same animal also has feathered long wings. Since the fossil is plastered on the stone, it is flat. There is no way to tell if the dinosaur even flew. What's left is a mystery of how this animal moved. Did it fly or did it walk? Because of this baffling mystery, scientists can't tell if it was the first bird either. Have you seen any bird fossils before? Number 14, the ancient crabs. Have you ever spotted a crab fossil before? These crab fossils were stuck in stone. Archaeologists brought out their fossil brush to dig out the fossil from the stone. What they found inside was astonishing. These crab fossils were millions of years old, and in the collection hiding was the biggest crab fossil to date. It had a huge body and massive set of claws, each stretching up to at least 8 inches in length. But despite their huge size, there was one thing that struck the scientists.
The front of the claws are that black color, and I've seen that in crabs that are alive today where the claws are that black, shiny black color.
These fossilized crabs are smaller than the crabs of today. So, have the researchers yet to find giant crabs from the past? Or is this the biggest fossilized crab that they have already found? Make your guesses. Number 15, underwater fossils. In the far lands of the Dominican Republic, scientists found an incredible cave filled with treasures. As the divers dove inside the sea, they found a large number of fossils hiding in the cave. From bats to crocodiles, the divers explored the fossils in the water and found them to be millions of years old.
The researchers are excited about this find because crocodiles have never been reported on this part of the island.
A crocodile's snout peeked out of the cave and helped the scientists get closer to unraveling the mystery. But scientists aren't sure of its age and species yet. They believe it has gone extinct, but can't comment until more has been discovered about the animal. Number 16, the astounding discovery. This is a discovery unlike any other thing that you'll get to see today. A pregnant T-Rex. Yes, only 3 such fossils of the T-Rex have been found up till now. But here's why it is interesting. Dinosaur bones already contain DNA, but it is fragment. So when you bring in a pregnant dinosaur, things get a bit exciting. A little something called the medullary bone is present in the female dinosaurs during pregnancy. Scientists seem to think that the bone may contain a whole lot more DNA, possibly enough to clone the dinosaurs too. A lot about this theory is yet to be tested, but they sure are hopeful about the pregnant T-Rex.
He says its bones reveal Scotty had a tough ride back in Mesozoic times.
Do you think scientists would be able to bring the dinosaurs back into the wild? Because the scientific community thinks that they have enough to carry on with the cloning dream. Only recently, scientists managed to grow dinosaur legs on a chicken. They took a chicken embryo and modified the baby genetically. The embryo grew up to have dinosaur-type traits. So, could they shift these traits to a TRex embryo too? Who knows? Number 17, trapped in amber. Do you know about amber fossils? These fossils are a holy grail for scientists. Imagine an animal with all of its details, perfectly preserved in its state. Paleontologists would go rightfully crazy. That's what these amber fossils provide, a nearly perfect specimen from the past. There have been a number of animals found trapped in amber. About 1,000 insects and bees have been the victims of this vicious tree resin that traps them and puts them in this tiny time capsule. But some of these amber fossils have stood out of the mix. Like an ancient bee that's millions of years old, or the smallest dinosaur of the world that was found hiding in the yellow blob. A few times, it is large animals like a lizard or a spider trapped in the resin. But they all suffer the same fate and give scientists a peek into ancient life. Have you ever seen an amber fossil? Number 18, four-legged whale. Whales haven't always been the travelers of the sea. In the early days, they used to have legs and walk on land. Don't believe me? Check out these fossils that are 43 million years old. The fossil helped trace back a few details of this bizarre animal that doesn't exist anymore. Weighing over 1,000 pounds and stretching up to 10 feet. This strange kind of a whale roamed on land for about 10 million years.
Can we find skeletons of other whales? Whales are considered one of the creatures that developed the most in their evolution because they evolved from living on land to living in the sea.
The fossils found by the scientists are nearly 40 million years old, but they think the earlier four-legged whales came way before, about 50 million years ago. But the one thing that startled the scientists about this animal wasn't its legs. It was its ferocious mandible that looked far too wide to be doing light munching. They believed that the four-legged whale probably was the killer whale of today, and a top predator back in its time. Massive head, powerful jaw, and four legs. That sounds more like a sea monster than a whale. Would you want to see one back in the ocean? Number 19. Legged snake. It is one thing to find a four-legged whale, but this bizarre animal has the scientists scratching their heads. Snakes are already pretty terrifying creatures. Add legs to them, and they only become more ferocious. Legged snakes roamed the earth nearly 110 million years ago. But despite this remarkable discovery, there was a problem. For the longest time, scientists believed that this fossil helped them crack the old mystery. Did snakes lose their limbs in water or on land? The fossil suggested that they probably lost it on land and seemed like the ancestors of snakes. But here's the twist. Some scientists now think that this may not be a snake at all. In fact, it is an ancient lizard that lived in the waters. This group thinks that the structure of the organism fits that of a lizard far more than that of a snake. But nobody is quite sure, and that has opened up a debate. Most people believe in the latter theory, that it is an ancient aquatic lizard of the Cretaceous period. Which of these sides would you prefer? Number 20. Ancient toothed whale. Another mysterious animal from ancient history is the toothed whale. These guys are nearly 25 million years old, but the one thing scientists cannot decide is what these whales use their massive teeth for. Did they filter the food like modern whales do today? Or were they top of the food chain and a mighty predator of that period? Scientists took the teeth to the lab and found out that their teeth do not look like those of the modern whale. Instead, they resemble more with the terrestrial predators of the wild like lion. This was shocking because it was pretty unique to the animal. These ancient toothed whales had more of a saw-type tooth fitted in a powerful jaw, unlike the cone-shaped teeth of killer whales. Even the modern toothed whales don't have such teeth. Did you know there exists a toothed whale today too? But it is so rare that barely anyone has been able to fish one out of the sea alive. Number 21. The egg fossils. Did you know scientists have got a hold of dinosaur eggs? Not just any ordinary eggs either. Eggs with dinosaur embryos inside. There have been many dinosaur embryos and eggs, but this one is the best find, a nearly perfect specimen. Yes, the latest find had everyone scrambling in excitement. The egg is nearly 66 million years old, and the embryo looks as if it is just about to hatch. The baby was in a tucking position, just like you'd normally find a chicken embryo inside the egg.
The embryo's tucking position was previously only thought to be the behavior of pre-hatching birds.
The relationship between a dinosaur and a chicken is an old tale, so this doesn't come as a big shocker, but it does link the two species and proves the long and old theory. If you're wondering if these dinosaur embryos could be used to resurrect dinosaurs, then you'd be in the wrong. Scientists do not have any dinosaur DNA on their hands, and these eggs have been fossilized for nearly thousands of years old, so you can say goodbye to that dream for now. Number 22. Ancient crocodiles fossils. There have been a number of crocodile fossils discovered in history, but this recent find put all the scientists on one table. They found the biggest prehistoric crocodile. The ancient crocodile stretches up to 30 feet and weighs nearly 3 tons. The state of the fossils is not the best. A lot of it was found in fragments, but it was enough to note down a few details. The fossil was nearly 120 million years old, and it was the largest known crocodile of that time. If you take that era, 30 feet is nothing compared to the other creatures dwelling in the sea. But in the crocodile family, it is the largest species known to scientists, which makes it an exciting find. Apart from its massive build, the crocodile was an opportunistic feeder and mostly remained underwater. What's interesting to note is that the prehistoric crocodile's traits seem a lot like the modern fairy tale and myths of the sea monster. Is it truly extinct? Number 23. Hornless Rhino. Have you ever heard of a hornless rhino? These guys were one of the biggest mammals to ever walk on land. If you combine the weight of 4 heavy African elephants, you'd get this hornless rhino walking in the wild. The beast was massive, and unlike any other species of rhino found in history. Its fossils were discovered in China, and the scientists were left baffled. Only its neck was found to be nearly 4 feet long, the size of a small child. Scientists estimate that they could reach up to heights of 24 feet. Did it even need to stand? Now, researchers think that these hornless rhinos might also have trunks that they would use to hold the trees and wipe the leaves clean. Good thing it was a herbivore. But that's not all. Apparently, this beast was good at running too. Its 4 legs were designed to help it move at fast speeds, which is quite uncommon with bulky animals. The more you know about this animal, the more it gets scary. Number 24, Temnodontosaurus. Meet the Temnodontosaurus, one of the largest and scariest sea creatures. This animal easily grew up to 32 feet long, but researchers believe that some of them might even be longer. If you look closely at its fossil, you can tell why it was one of the most ferocious animals. With a long snout fitted with razor-sharp teeth, this animal would rip anything apart into tiny pieces. Plus, with its massive eyes, it didn't need a lot of help diving into the sea and fishing out its next meal for the day. If you think any of this is scary, you need to take a look at its stomach. One of its fossils was so well preserved that scientists found a baby dinosaur's backbones inside its stomach. It is a good thing it went extinct, isn't it? That's all, folks, on the animal fossils that scientists are planning on reviving and other bizarre finds that have raised even more questions. Which of these animals would you like to see back in the wild? More importantly, do you think researchers are right to work on de-extinction? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.